What's up, y'all? Welcome to Two Brothers in a Shot of Milk. I'm Lawrence. We got Jack. We got Rich. And today we're talking about Indiana Jones and the last crusade, or the
The
Dial of
last until
Destiny,
next last.
till the next last. Spoiler-free review. Here we go, really quick. Jackie Boy's got to run, but we want to hear his thoughts. Yeah, he might be the only one here that liked the movie, so I think it's important to hear his
I
thoughts.
heard Chris liked it.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. Allegedly.
Allegedly,
Archaeologist
yes.
Indiana Jones races against time to retrieve a legendary artifact that can change the course of history. Again, race against time, Jack. Wasn't that in the last
It's in everyone.
synopsis?
Yeah, yeah. When I wrote my first film, A Loss of Shadows, that same sentence was in my synopsis too.
I think you're in rarefied air, my friend. You're in
But
good
that was
company.
but that was like 15 years ago when I wrote it.
Yes, and it was your first thing. These
Right?
guys have been writing synopsis for 30 years.
Come on.
Jack, spoiler-free
All
thoughts.
right, spoiler free. It's not great, but listen, I enjoyed it. I know there are a lot of geriatric jokes floating around, but you can all sit on that, you racist bastards, because this movie
I don't know if that's the way it works. I don't know if
ages.
that's.
Okay, let me read ageist bastards because this movie was enjoyable, right? It's not great, it's not without its flaws, but it's Indiana Jones, it's Harrison Ford coming back, and it's not Crystal Skull. This movie was fun.
Rich.
I mean, I just watched a movie of a crotchety old man that didn't want to do anything but sit down and watch TV.
True. That's also true. That's also true.
Oh, when I saw it, I was trying to find the right words because I didn't think it was good, but I didn't think it was bad, and it hit me. This movie's tired. I felt tired. I felt
He
very
was tired.
tired, and he was tired. And here's my thing: spoiler free. Everything about Indiana Jones had 80s charm. Your hero who's kind of like die hard, he messes up, makes mistake, but he oozes charm and charisma. He's super likable. You take those traits away, then I'm on an adventure with someone I don't like. And the adventure is very similar to the other adventures I watched them go on. So for me, I like Crystal Skull better than this because I like Indiana Jones in Crystal Skull better than the Indiana Jones in this movie.
It's
And
Okay.
at
interesting.
the end, I like them better. And that's all
Well,
I can really say before we get in spoiler territory. Can we just jump in? What? Jump in real quick?
yeah, let's spoil it.
Yeah.
Let's
And
just jump in.
I'm probably not going to survive the whole take.
No,
I'll
we're
say
not gonna do a recap. We'll just fire off and I'll
in,
recap later.
in an interview, Harrison Ford was asked, if you had the dial of destiny, where would you go? And he answered, home. I'd go home. So right off the bat, you kind of that's the vibe of a lot of the performance. The CGI was funny. At some points, it looked flawless, and at other points, he looked plasticky. Right?
Yeah.
And going in, like with the
Yeah,
de-aging stuff.
you know what's going on.
Yeah.
And then one thing that was interesting was in the wide shot of the flashbacks where he's de-aged, his body is not de-aged, and you can see the movement pattern of an old guy, which was interesting. And his voice definitely sounds
No.
Yeah.
weathered the whole time. Now, once we got into him just playing his age, then it felt more appropriate. You're looking at an Indy who lost his son, and that
Okay.
trauma is there. And
All right. We got to talk about all this right now because I enjoyed the first 20 minutes of the film because even with all those things, that's Indiana Jones.
yes, it was.
Race jumping on train and after that, like Rich said, we're watching a guy. First of all, I am sick and tired of showing up to these movies where we see the heroes that we loved end up lonely alcoholics.
Yep.
And
Mm.
I've never seen Top Gun, but correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't the beauty of Top Gun Maverick the fact that when you caught up with Maverick, he wasn't some guy that was afraid to fly, he was on a bender?
No, he had doubled down. He was the Batman we needed to see in part 3 of Nolan's Batman. This guy was gullier than a mug.
And that's who you hoped he'd become.
And how have you not seen that movie still, Lawrence?
I know. But after all of that, that's who you hoped he'd become. And
yes.
And seeing Indiana Jones and seeing where he is, it's like, this is not what I hoped for after the credits rolled in Crystal Skull. that first of all, your son died.
Yeah.
So now we're dealing like, and I feel like these directors, and James Mangold is great, but these directors want to bring these real world implications and this real world cynicism to characters that were just fun in the 80s. We're
Yeah.
not supposed to have a grieving Indiana Jones. No, we're supposed to go on a wonderful adventure with this charming guy, and that's not lost on age. And last thing before you got to go, and then you can jump in because I want to say all this stuff while you're here. The reason why no one went again talked about Michael Keaton's age in Batman is
Because he
because
was
because
a mug.
because they didn't make it an issue. But
Well,
if you're gonna show me Indiana Jones barely able to get out of bed, then later
Mm.
that day he gets into a fist fight with
and
Nazis, I'm calling flag on the play.
Yes.
yeah.
They made him being physically old a part of their story until they didn't want it to be anymore.
I'll tell you what's interesting. Harrison Ford made it a point to tell the stunt team who portrayed him in all those shots not to portray the best version of the moves, but to portray how he would do the moves, which I thought was actually a great note for him. Because
Now I think as an actor and as a director and as a writer, that's very interesting.
yeah,
But I think in the realm of Indiana Jones, no, you cut a rope bridge and rode it to the other side. Like realism doesn't belong here. The
yeah, but
second you start putting realism in
he's
there,
talking about Indiana Jones in his 70s. It needed to be that, and that's what they advocated for.
but Indiana Jones in his 70s in this world moves like Michael Keaton did in The Flash. In this world,
But
he's not
Indiana
supposed to.
like Fast and the Furious, and I think if they played that out, we'd be complaining how a 70-year-old guy looked like Spider-Man, which is what I was complaining about the last movie, where like Shia LaBeouf was basically just Spider-Man swinging through the jungle.
Well, we didn't complain about a 75-year-old Michael Keaton doing the stuff he did as Batman. There's
Because
a way to split the difference.
True.
that's
There's a
true,
way to
but
split the
Indiana
difference.
Jones has never been comic book like that. It's been paranormal, it's been supernatural, it's been a lot of things, but it hasn't been super.
Fine. Then let him fight like a 70-year-old man. But then there's charm to it. It's not I'm 70 years old and this hurts. I can't wait to get home. It's like this hurts more than last time. I should just shoot
But
you instead.
no,
That's Indiana
but
Jones.
that's Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones. I was just gonna say that. Like Indiana Jones' mentality has always been borderline lazy and straight to the point.
But full of charisma, not grumpy.
Yeah.
And this grumpy version was not fun to go on an adventure with. And the girl he went with was like a jerk. She was so unlikable.
She
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
And she had daddy issues. That's not your daddy though.
Yeah,
you
she was.
had it.
And then, but I will say this: like his friend from the desert, who you see driving the cab,
Mhm.
like he captured the excitement of what those older films encompassed.
Right. And everyone else didn't. And they went and rewrote history. That guy that Indiana saved on the freaking train, this character was made for this movie. They created history for a character that has history since 1980.
Yeah.
So we don't care about him. We don't care about his daughter. We don't care about her daddy issue. She set up Indiana Jones to die like 50 times.
She
Yeah.
did.
Yeah,
And then he and Jack, real quick before I know you got to go. Our hero, the guy we've been watching since we were kids, we would put on fedoras and have jump ropes and use them like whips because we wanted to be Indiana Jones. In his last real scene where he's supposed to be heroic, he's like, "Let me just stay here and die." That's our hero. That's our last take. And then by the end, all that happiness isn't even earned because she had to knock him out and drag him home.
well,
Jack, that's whack,
listen,
dude.
well, hang on. There's something to be said about the script placing another narrative hero at the figurehead, and it wasn't Indiana Jones. This film almost does what Crystal Skull does in passing the torch, but they
Crystal Skull
passed.
does it much better because
Well,
at least it's a happy ending.
Crystal Skull does it clearer. This almost looks like it's gonna be like if there's another Indiana Jones, it will be with the lady, and it will be like a Tomb Raider type National Treasure film. You know what I mean?
Which
Would
is
it? Because
fair.
she was just in it for the money. Like
She
I didn't
was,
see I didn't
they
see any.
gave the heart with the kid.
I mean, they set it up that way, and I don't care. The point is, in Crystal Skull, Indiana Jones got married. Like he's going into retirement happy, the way we want to see our hero.
Yeah.
Not saying I'll just let me die here and I have to
Well,
punch you
you
in the
saw
face.
that they were in a place coming in with this movie where if things had gone differently with Shia LaBeouf, he would have been in this film. You know, this would be a very different
They
movie.
didn't have to kill the son off. He could have just been in like Minnesota raising kids. It's been like 15
Yeah.
years.
But he passed the hat to the kid.
They ignored it. And
Yeah,
They
they
definitely ignored it.
and his character never would have enlisted anyway, the way he was written in Crystal Skull. So my point is, this movie was written and directed by wonderful creators who had a cynical, realistic take on what it's like to get old, and that's not what we want from Indiana Jones. We don't want James Bond to show up like, I can't drink anymore, I got an ulcer. It's like, no, save that for the real world.
Unless he's doing Doc Holliday with that ulcer from drinking.
Ah man. So real quick while we have you here, let's give this a rating, and Rich and I'll just trash it while you leave.
Great. Listen, I would give this thing a solid 6.5. I'll say 6.5. It is, for me, it was a better film than Crystal Skull, and having Harrison Ford back, and when the John Williams scored, and this was his retirement score, coming back to do Indiana Jones, played in the opening scene where they had him de-aged, I was excited. They had me at
first 20 minutes was indie. I'm with you.
First 20 minutes was indie, and just seeing the first 20 minutes, and had it been a short, gets a 6 without even trying. So this movie, I give a 6.5.
It's pretty generous. Uh, I'm gonna go ahead and give this a solid 4 on a good day.
Ouch.
It was like I said, the first 20 minutes, yes, that was Indiana Jones. After that, it was a crotchety old man that didn't want to get out of bed. He didn't even want to teach his class. Like, what are we talking about? My man,
Yep.
he didn't get interested in that class, in that lecture, until Wombat started, spitting off facts that was like, yes, this man was ready to retire. He was on his last day. He was like, I'm done with this.
Yeah, that's
Why are
true.
we watching this man?
Yeah, and you can always get the class's attention by saying, I was possessed by voodoo before." He has stories to bring them back.
He did. We got that. Man.
I'm giving this bad boy a 5. It's a
Okay.
5 for me. I think it is not how I want to end my character. Crystal Skull had a lot of issues, but I got to leave Indiana Jones in a good place, thinking about where he might be in life. Having him grieve his son's death is adding a level of pain to Indiana Jones I never want to see. I never want to know that much about him. And when I do, I want it to be like when he bumps into his father in Last Crusade. Oh, this is delightful. I don't ever want it to be like, oh man, it's hard getting out of bed today. So that was hard for me. And Jack, real quick, don't introduce time travel and his son that died in the past, and we don't even like.
Right?
Wait, but did you understand the time travel was interesting? It wasn't time travel.
It was just a door to.
No, but it was a door to a very specific time only. He had made a time travel machine that would only take someone back to that very specific point in time every time. It wasn't a dial where you could choose where you went. It was a dial that took you right back to Archidemus's time because he was looking for someone to help him. That was it.
And I get that when you get the wonderful director James Mangold, who did Logan, that wanted to bring a sense of realism to it. But in Indiana Jones Adventure, don't bring me in time travel with a guy that loves studying the past, with the guy whose son died in the past, but you make rules that this device cannot be useful for this character at all. The rules didn't help the plot.
Dial is sitting on his table.
But he didn't have the other half.
Yes,
they had to find the other half. Well, you said, at the end.
At the end, yeah.
Yeah, the rules felt like a cop out. The rules, like, we have time travel, sort of. We can't do any cool things with it.
Right.
So that's it.
But that was kind of like, that in itself was the twist. The twist was, it's a machine that lets you track these temporal time disturbances, but it only tracks something that sends it right back to where it was created.
And I
Just
guess
you kind of.
how's that the more interesting choice?
I don't know that it's the more interesting choice, but it was interesting that that was actually the paradox of machinima. It wasn't a time travel device. It was a distress signal. It was a help me signal.
He didn't help them.
Nobody did.
Yeah.
So like, what was the point?
Yeah. No.
All right, Jack. I know you got to go, man. We're going to talk a little bit more about it, but 5, 4, and 6.5,
It's like
which
a
is like a 5.
4. It's a 5.
A 5.
All right. See you
Yeah.
guys.
All
All
right,
right.
man. Talk to
Later,
you
man.
soon. Peace. Man, so y'all heard a lot of our thoughts on this. I don't got to do a giant recap for this movie, Rich. We kind of shared our thoughts. My main issue is that, like you said, this kind of movie is like watching Schwarzenegger. You know, you don't want to see him revisit a character, and it's the version of him that doesn't want to be there. It's like
Yeah.
this. Just Indy has to be likable, and Harrison Ford, I don't trust you because he did the same thing with Han Solo. I'll
He
come back as
did.
Han Solo, and we'll find out that my son turned bad, which ruined our marriage, and then I'll die in it. I felt like he's always trying to die, kill these characters off.
You know what? I would have respected the movie just a little bit more. Like, say if he did happen to stay during that battle,
Mm-hmm.
I would have accepted that a little bit more than what happened. That he got knocked out by Wombat, and then dragged back to the future or the present day. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And then to what? To still be grieving or to
And
be reunited with his estranged wife? Like, I
well,
don't.
and I don't get how when Marianne comes back and they're kissing and all that stuff, like what changed? Like how is that moment earned? Like what happened? They had a rift, obviously.
Right.
Why how was that rift healed all of a sudden?
Because he was shot, I guess. Like,
Don't he always get shot?
he always gets shot. It's going to be his 10th time getting shot now.
It just felt like that ending was playing for nostalgia and it wasn't earned.
Yeah.
And I would have been cool with Indy staying only if it wasn't I'm staying to die. Because she kept saying, like, you're gonna bleed out. You're gonna get
Well,
all
no,
the
he
infections.
respectfully, he was going to die. He
Right.
got shot in the past with no antibiotics or anything.
So
He's
like
going to die.
him staying in the past wasn't even like, well, this is my purpose. I need to help them. It was like, I'm tired of fighting. I just leave me here to die on this beach. I don't want to
Nah,
see.
I saw it more of like because he likes seeing the past and everything like that, and there was like a once in a lifetime chance to actually see future or the past unfold in front of him. He couldn't change it
Mm-hmm.
because if he changed it, then things will change in the future. So you
Right.
really can't help them. Like he has to kind of like sit back and like be like the watcher from Marvel. He has to like sit back and just watch it all
Which
happen.
he probably wanted to do.
Yeah. Which I mean, hey, it would have been better than being a crotchety old man just watching like crap TV, or being a crotchety old man and maybe less crotchety watching the past unfold in front of you, right?
And it's just hard, every Indiana Jones movie ends with him saving the day. Right?
Hmm.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. They all look at it. He indirectly saves the day, gets the ark, whatever, and then he doesn't do anything here. Like the Nazis just got speared down. Like he didn't
Yeah,
do anything.
yeah. I mean, from I already knew what was going to. Cause at first, I was like, "Oh, this is about to." I was about to say, Archimedes. I was because when they dug him up, he had to watch, and then you saw the inscription where it was a plane rather than the
Mm-hmm.
phoenix. So at first I was like, oh, so Archimedes already came to the future. But then when he
That's
started
what I thought.
flying, I'm just like, wait a second, they couldn't fly back then. So like, if this is the only way to get to these rifts is through the air, then I was like, I kind of put the pieces together. So I mean, the Nazis weren't going to be able to do anything except like what are they had even if they survived that they have limited amount of ammo.
No, the movie became inconsequential.
Yeah, like there was nothing for them. They couldn't do anything. Maybe if they struck groundfall or whatever and infiltrated the society, maybe they could have changed things. But they
But
got knocked down by fireballs. Like,
they wouldn't be able to plan out the trajectory of the next 200 years to change what they wanted to change, which
right.
was the Nazis win. This one YouTuber who does movie reviews said it was interesting. The second we saw the watch in the guy's tomb,
Mm,
and like you said, the propellers, the plane on the tomb,
right.
he was like, it shows us that the past can't change.
Mm,
Like it's already in a loop. They've already done this before.
right. Yeah.
So it's probably something that can't be fixed or changed. It's already running on loop. The watch is in the tomb and the planes are there because you're gonna go and do this thing.
Right.
So like it's like sometimes you do with time travel where like, no, this is a fixed loop. There's nothing you can do. You can observe it,
Mm,
which meant that the whole fight of the whole movie didn't matter if the Nazis got the dial. And none of it actually mattered because they would have went
yeah.
through there and wouldn't have been able to do anything anyway.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what was the point,
Yeah.
Rich?
It was just like this movie. There was no point.
There's
Right.
no point,
Oh man.
man. And then why didn't the other plane get shot down? The slower one
Yeah.
with
Right.
the more inexperienced pilot.
Right.
Like,
Bro, I don't know. I
or
don't
maybe because
know.
it was smaller, the other one drew the
Maybe.
fire more.
Yeah. Maybe they were focused on that one because it was bigger. You know.
Maybe.
Uh,
I do love how they thought they were dragons. I do love that.
yeah. I mean, back in that time, when you see something flying in the air, what else you gonna think it is, right?
But they never seen a dragon. The fact, but yeah, their stories. Um, Without recapping, I'll say I thought it was a missed opportunity not to bring Short Round back.
Yes.
And I know that they made this movie before he became a freaking star. But if the timing was different, he would have been in this movie.
Oh, definitely,
He
definitely.
would have
I
been
mean,
in this movie.
if they brought back freaking John Reese Davis, then yeah, they definitely would have brought him back.
I
And
mean,
was Antonio Banderas? Was he in every?
I don't
Maybe
think
I
he was
missed it.
ever in any of them.
Yeah, so they just forced the whole friendship that we were supposed to care about. See, I was sitting there
Same
thinking
thing
about
with the
that.
dude in the beginning and his daughter. Like that character was never in Indiana Jones.
True. Yes, bro. See, there was a whole bunch of forced relationships that I was supposed to care about, and I'm like, who are these people?
And you're wondering, like, what's wrong with me? Why don't I care about these characters? And it's because they was never even here,
Right, bro.
dude. And if you didn't
Because
want Shia LaBeouf, how hard would it cast Miles Teller? Cast like an actor that's similar. Like, how hard would it be for this to be an adventure with Indy and his son? Like, recast him. Remember when Terrence Howard was War Machine and they decided they didn't just kill off War Machine. They
they recast him.
recast him.
No one better than I.
No one batted an eye. Don Cheadle is still eating off of the
Yeah.
character.
Oh yeah.
Man, so that's pretty much our fast and loose take on it. I feel as though Crystal Skull had its issues, but like I said before, at least it left me with the Indy who got the girl, who's happy, whose son takes the hat. Like that was the way you want to end things. You don't want to see Indy as having a bat and banging on his neighbor's door. Turn it down. What happened to you, man? And
I mean, they pretty much stuck with the whole Indiana Jones formula, which is an adventure that they had to solve. Throwing
yeah,
some Nazis, throwing a really big Nazi.
yeah,
You got some orphan kid that needs to be taken care of.
yeah.
And rush to the spot to unlock the one thing that before the enemy does, but the enemy gets it anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
And the thing that the enemy gets winds up being his undoing,
Right.
which is pretty much how they are. But
It's Indiana Jones.
you know what's different, Rich?
You don't have the charm.
I
You
can't
don't
tell
have
you
his
the
charm.
plot to all the Mission Impossible movies. I can't tell you how different they all are off the top of my head. What I can tell you is I love watching Tom Cruise do his thing.
Yeah.
So as long as he's likable, I don't care how similar these movies are or not. I'm watching you do the thing that no one else can do.
Yes.
I can't tell you how different Jackie Chan's movies are, Rich, but I love watching him work.
Yes. And this one, bro, Harrison Ford was just unlike. Well, let me say Harrison Ford. Indy was just unlikable. He was
Right.
he pretty. Just put this man on the couch, give him a TV dinner, he'll be good. Like that's all he wanted. That's all he wanted in life. And you felt that throughout this whole movie. Like, why am I here? Why am I doing this?
Because no matter what you're doing, it's never going to heal the fact that your son was killed.
Yeah.
Like whatever you're doing is not going to fix that hole in you. So it all feels like, what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the freaking point?
And I would even accept it if they like somewhere in there he kind of like got greedy with it and like he started doing it so he can turn back time to bring his son back or maybe prevent his son from going to war or
The
whatever.
Flash.
Yeah, do something like that.
Well, when you introduce time travel, Rich,
I mean,
you got to
that's
try.
yeah, but then they brought like you said, they brought back the whole thing where it was just a homing beacon to go back to that one point in time. I'm just like, that's kind of whack.
That's so. What was the point?
That's whack. All right.
I don't. Yeah, as you can tell, Rich and I didn't like it too much, and without Chris and Jack here, we're just gonna get into bashing territory. So we should probably get out of here.
Yeah.
But I'll say the first 20 minutes were great, and the de aging is whatever. You know that it was going to be there, so I can get around it.
Listen, I tell you, Jargon, whatever his name was, Yargan, he looked way better than Indy when they went back into when they went to the present time.
Oh,
I don't
the
know if there was
who? The bad guy?
yeah the bad guy.
Oh yeah, yeah. He
He
had a
looked
little
way
bit
better.
on him, but I feel like
He
he's
didn't
not
need that
80
much.
years old, and
Yeah.
I want to know how he survived that.
Right?
That's the biggest red flag in
I
this
was
whole
like,
thing.
wait a minute. That train was
It
that should have
took
took his
his
head
head
off.
off. Now,
Like,
to
there's no
me,
way.
the whole time I'm thinking that relic did something to him. I thought the relic
Mm,
he had like is the reason why he's not dead. It's like
right.
there's something to uncover there. But no, he just took that pipe to the face on a speeding train like a man.
Man, he should be dead.
Dead. And
Mm,
Jack said we're not supposed to like Fast and Furious this thing, but that was Fast and
That was Fast
Furious.
and Furious right there. All right.
Because I'm like, and not even Rich, not even a scar.
Not even. I I don't know. I was looking at it. I was like looking hard. I was like, there has to be something on this guy's head. Something on this guy. Like, give me some type of physical like crippling, some type of physical handicap that he has. Like, there was nothing on
He
him.
got hit in the face and flew off a speeding train.
Nothing. There wasn't a limp. He didn't have a gimp arm. He didn't have a scar on his face, a
Nothing.
deformed face. Nothing. My man was good.
Indy was more broken down.
Bro, what? Come on, man. I was like, this is wild.
This
Let's
is
get
weird.
speed the movie up. Come on.
The how this falls chronologically is Temple of Doom,
Mm,
Raiders of the Lost Ark, Last Crusade, Crystal Skull. Then the first 20 minutes actually take place after all those movies. So Indiana Jones hasn't had another adventure since that train.
right.
So I'm seeing the effects of what happened on the train on this guy's body.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
And the bad guy's like, that was a Tuesday. I get thrown off of trains all the time.
Listen,
This is
I got
nothing.
I got hit in the face with 80-mile-an-hour objects all the time. Let's go.
All the time. Pause. All right. Well, I mean, that's our take. That's our very crude take. We usually do a deeper recap here, but since Rich and I both didn't like it, like I said, this will just turn into us scrapping on this whole movie. I will say Harrison Ford is amazing in it. He made a choice as an actor to play it this way. That was the direction. We didn't like that direction. Nothing against his acting, nothing against the directing. We just don't like the choice they made.
Yeah.
But that's that. And I guess this is the last Indiana freaking Jones.
Oh, it better
So
be. If there was any hint of a sequel at the end of this, I would have flipped over chairs. I don't even know how I would have done that because they're bolted to the ground. But still,
it's it's she to me is just too unlikable.
she is like
She
she
was too
is.
she's too old first to
Mm,
have those kind of daddy issues. Like when you saw Shia LaBeouf in the first Crystal Skull, he was young enough to be that immature. So you
right.
kind of buy it. Here, it's like you're in your 30s. Like I said before, Rich, he's not your daddy. So he's
Mm,
not the one you have issues with. And your daddy was there. It's not Indy's fault your daddy went crazy.
right.
So all your beef with India resentment is like feels forced. Like to the point where you're leaving him to die. Like trapped to die. Like I didn't
Multiple
get it.
times.
So then by the end, I'm supposed to buy like you had this change of heart, and now I'm like, no, you're a jerk. You're a jerk from the beginning. You're still a freaking jerk.
Yeah.
Don't like her
Yeah. I'm
at
like, no.
all.
Like what? No, don't act like you like this guy now. Like you literally tried to get him killed. Like no
I
way.
hated it. Now I liked her in the beginning when she was like she knew all the answers and was like I memorized. Like I liked. Oh, I'm like okay, I like this character. She is
Right.
like a newer version of Indy. Like she's passionate about it. And then we saw what she was. It's like you're a jerk. You let
Yeah.
this guy to get shot up by Nazis to steal something from him. Like that's you didn't care to that level. He could have died at that school that morning, and she would have been good.
Yeah.
Screw her, Rich. Screw her. I don't like her. But that's our show, I guess.
Yeah.
Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, leave your comments. Are Rich and I being too harsh on this movie? I know there's good things in it because, like I said, great director, great actors. But as the Indiana Jones guys, this is not the Indiana Jones that we wanted to see at all.
Definitely not. No.
At all, ever. Screw realism. Give me a 70-year-old guy beating Nazis up and swinging on his whip. Give me that. I don't care about. I don't want to see. Yeah. Anyways, you got the point. We'll be back. Same bat time.
Same bad channel.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to Three Brothers and a Shot of Milk. We're talking.